Hey everybody, I'm Erin from the Kokomo Post, and welcome to a Kokomo Post Sit Down with Jeff Newton, Executive Director of the Kokomo Urban Outreach. I hear you have some news.
I do. So in about a year and a half, I'm going to completely retire from Kokomo Urban Outreach.
I appreciate you spending some time with us. When I first heard the news, I probably had the same response a lot of people had, is what happens next? So for anybody who's watching who doesn't know about Kokomo Urban Outreach, can you give us just a little bit of a primer?
Kokomo Urban Outreach started in 2006, January 2006, and we started by trying to meet needs in neighborhoods. So we had food pantries and we provided meals to children and all kinds of things like that. But after about 10 years of that, I realized that we were helping people get through poverty but not out. So I decided that I didn't want to take the rest of my time just help people get out through. I want to help them to get out. Currently we're working with children and teens, 3 years old to 18.
Okay.
To be a self-reliant adult, you need three things. You need education, you need life skills, you need work ethic. So we work on all three of those things with the children and teens in our program.
That's amazing. And we've talked off camera about this before, but why Kokomo? How did you end up
Why
back
Kokomo?
here?
I decided to come back to Kokomo because I knew the culture. I had some networking already. I knew people already. I still am a pastor, but I was a pastor in Northwest Indiana, and felt called to come back to my hometown and try to help make a difference if I can.
And so way back in 2006, when you came back, what was the community looking like? What was the feel here?
Well, first of all, there was no public transportation. I would talk about that a lot. I would go to church in some different places, everywhere I could get. We need public transportation because we have food deserts everywhere. And people can't get food. They were taking the food stamp money and going to the convenience store and buying food. And so I kept advocating for that until finally it happened. And that was pretty cool. We were going into a recession. So things were not doing well economically. So all those things we gave away in the first few years, we gave away a lot of clothes and food and things. I think that was important to do because we were helping people get through not just poverty, but through a recession.
Sure.
That's the way it kind of was when I got here, when I arrived back here. We just kept plugging away and trying to get the word out that there are people that have great need, and how do we help them? How do we make a difference in our community? How do we help people to become people that are taking care of themselves and going their own directions, having their own dreams and dreaming the dreams and living them out. So that's kind of what we tried to do. We tried to do all along.
Well, what was that decision like? Because you guys did. It was a big flip, at least from the outside. Looking in, you were known for buddy bags. You were known for pantries. There was a lot of great help that was happening. What was the internal transformation to say, we have to really flip the script? What happened?
So what happened was I began to see the older children when we first started come with their children asking for the same things. And so that bothered me. And I think, what can we do to stop that? I'm a pastor, so I was praying about it. And as I was praying, I felt like I was on a cruise ship. And a cruise ship has everything, it has everything you need. And so I see people in the water down below treading water, trying to keep their head above the water. I yelled out, say, hey, what do you need? And then they would say food. We throw them food or clothes or whatever they need, we just throw it to them. I was led to the scripture in Matthew 25 where it says, feed the hungry. And I said, that's what we're doing. But Matthew 25:40 says, Jesus says, when you do it to the least of these, you do it to me. And I saw the face of Jesus and I realized I would never throw Jesus anything. I try to pull him up. So that's what we began to do. And we began to make that transformation.
Sure. And where did this idea for the current UP programming, where did that come from?
We had a tornado in 2016. And we had a lot of people volunteering their time to help clean up. But we also invited the neighbors, which were right across the street from Garden Square. And their place was destroyed in the tornado, and it was pretty devastated. And so we invited them to come over. In the past, what we would do, we were talking with them, what do you really need? And they were saying, we're losing hours at work, we can't go to work. So we don't have paychecks, and our rent's going to be due in just about a week, and we can't pay it, and we can't pay our car payments and all that. But instead this time we hired them. And so you could come in and work for up to 30 hours and make $10 an hour, so you can recover $300. And we had droves of people came and did that. In the midst of that, I saw some really hard workers. And so a couple of the people that were really working hard, we hired.
Well, and sort of looking back at your tenure here, at sort of all of that journey of urban outreach, what would you say are a couple of the moments you're most proud of?
I am very proud of our current program. I'm very proud of Buddy Bags. Because of the recession, we heard kids were not eating well. And so we talked to principals in the schools and things like that. And I began telling the stories about kids that maybe struggle on the weekends because of the recession. And their parents were trying to work. It's not that the parents were bad, it was difficult. So we had youth groups that come in and take all the food that we received during the week and bag them up. And we just laid them on the sidewalk, and as kids walked by, they took them home to help them through the week. And so I didn't know the kids' names, and so I'd say, hey buddy, don't forget your bag. Hey buddy, don't forget your bag. And then finally kids were saying, well, where's my buddy bag? And kids began to receive them in school. And we had a letter from one little boy, a little note one time that he gave us that said, thank you for the buddy bags. He says, we're kind of poor, and my mom works a lot, and we get pretty hungry, so thank you very much. And so I'm proud of that. I'm proud of our staff that we've taken, we've hired people that sometimes struggle, and I've worked with them and we've trained them to be great in the public and do a good job with kids and that kind of thing. That's kind of where we've been. And so there's just so many of the things that we've done, and I didn't do it by myself, of course.
Sure.
When we were doing the Sunday night meals, it took about 100 volunteers on Sunday night. And I would even go to locations where the meals were and go through the line, and the volunteers didn't even know who I was. So it's kind of like undercover boss. I would walk through and just see how they were treating folks, and they all treated them very, very well.
So looking back, is there anything you do differently?
Yes, I think there is. One of the things I do differently is I have always been nervous sharing my opinions about social issues and things that were going on in the community that were a little controversial, because to have a nonprofit and to have a donor base, you have people on one side of an issue and you have people on the other side of the issue. One of the things that I'll be doing in retirement is the thing I couldn't do before, and I really kind of regret there's some things. I mean, at the beginning, I did speak out against childhood hunger and food insecurity and no transportation.
I'm sure there's a tightrope you have to walk.
There is.
And, needing funding, and you know I spent many years in nonprofit. We said often, there is no mission without money.
Right.
There's no cause without cash.
That's true.
And so those two pieces and how they work together are really important, and I'm sure very, very hard to sort of walk and satisfy both of those things.
It is.
Every time we speak, I feel your heart for this, your passion for this community. So as you are thinking about and walking toward retirement, I mean, is there fear for what comes next for this organization?
I'm not really afraid. We have a great board of directors, a really good board of directors who I told almost a year ago. And so part of the process is announcing that I am retiring, and then selecting, putting the word out that they're going to be selecting somebody else, and then me working with them maybe for about a year.
So I'm hearing you don't feel that flutter in your heart of like, oh, what happens next?
Not at all.
What is next? So you retire, December 31st, 2023, you say goodbye, and then what?
So one thing is a book. One is a book about a young man in our program named Tershawn. And then Kareem's on our staff, and he and I do something called Way Down Deep Conversations. So we'll be doing those more often. So we go into places and we have director chairs we sit on, and we just, the crowd asks us questions and we answer them based on our life experiences, which are completely different. So we're planning on doing more of that, and we'll see after that.
I love it. Well, Jeff, I know you are an incredibly, incredibly busy leader in this community, so I don't want to take any more of your time, but I do want to say from us at the Kokomo Post, from the Kokomo community, I mean, deeply, deeply, we hold you in the highest regard. We have always looked at you as truly one of the most influential leaders in Kokomo, and we're glad for your time here. We're glad for your next adventure, but most of all, we're grateful for your influence and your impact in Kokomo. So,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. For you guys who are joining us, thank you so much for this Kokomo Post sit down. We look forward to your next adventure, Jeff.
Thank you.